Good morning. I'd like to call the Stockbridge Board of Selectmen meeting to order on February 17th, 2022. First up on our agenda today is Highway Department updates on regular and winter operations. And so if you, could you come up, please?
Good morning, Hugh.
Good morning.
Nice to see you again.
I guess as far as projects are concerned, weather plays a big part on how we move forward with that. You know, we were working at the beach and some other things. Wait for a little bit more thaw before we get back up there and back at it again. We've been spending a lot of time in-house working on our equipment. Out on the dirt roads, trying to maintain potholes. There's not really a lot you can do when the roads are frozen, but we're doing what we can. Chasing potholes on our asphalt. You know, just trying to prepare for the upcoming season best we can. And I'm hearing that there's some concerns about maybe some salt usage. I think that our salt usage is actually down a little bit from last year. The amount of salt that we purchased and the inventory that we have in our barn is roughly 250 tons. My thought process on that with everything going on today with the trucking and the shipping, I didn't want to get in a situation where we couldn't get materials. I know that most communities have a barn that's full. We're not in that situation. We share our barn with salt sand mix, our salt magnesium chloride molasses mix, and also our stone for our dirt roads. And the more we try to put in there, the more cross-contamination we end up with. And that also lowers the effective rate of the salt that you're applying to the road, so you've got to utilize more. We're looking at ways maybe to address that situation down the road. As far as our trucks, our trucks are a few generations behind on computer control salt spreader technology. There's new systems out. Well, they're not new, new systems, but newer systems for us to utilize. There's active and passive systems that we can control or monitor how much salt we're using. That information can be fed to a computer, so we can monitor that, and we can learn, and we can learn how to use less salt to do more. I think also with the storms that we've been getting, I'm talking to other communities, their salt usage is up. We're running into situations where you've seen it on your walk. I mean, I've seen our sand pile on our salt shed go down, so people have got to realize, that these storms we're fighting aren't snow. We're not out plowing, treating, final treatment. It seems that every time we're out, we almost have to treat because it's frozen over right behind us. So,
Then it seems to freeze the next day, even right when it gets.
Yeah.
The salt wears out, doesn't it?
We go up and turn around, come back, and it's froze over again,
Right.
And then we get situations where we have brine on the road and we get a rain period that washes that away, and then it flash freezes. So, it's not only our community, every community. I've talked to people. I've talked to Bay State. I was on with a meeting with them yesterday and talked for a little bit with them. It's every community's learning how to deal with this, so. We did do a snow and ice class last year. I know that with the COVID and stuff, it's hard to really get out and do hands-on classes and education and learn how to do things better. I know working with Mr. Canales that we're looking down the road to better that for us, because my personal feeling is eventually the state's going to want to monitor what we're doing, and I'd like to see us get ahead of the curve. And I think that these new, they're not new, these systems that we can put in our trucks, there you go, there's a force system. That right there can do storm totals, applications. We can go passive or active with it. Right now, I think there's some images of what our trucks have.
Does it play Mortal Kombat?
No, actually, that's the image right there of one of our trucks. That's pretty much what's in one of them. I don't have the picture of the truck. It's out getting worked on. But as you can see, you can set your spinner and your chain feed and you hit your lever. So if you come to an intersection and you don't grab the lever in time, that's why a lot of times you come to intersections, you'll see little windrows or little termite mounds. Sometimes it's 2 in the morning, you just forget to grab that lever fast and you're still, spinning salt. So if you take that amount of salt usage throughout the, however 10, 12 events we have in a year, that system will pay for itself.
Right.
This new system.
So we're looking at those?
That's the system that we have in one of our Terrastars. As you can see, it's just, we have a spinner control and a feed rate and a blast system. But again, it doesn't tell you what your rate is. There's no storm totaling. There's no way to educate ourselves with that other than estimate what you're loading, other than trying to keep a clipboard possibly in the truck and write how much you're putting down and where you're putting it down. These new systems, this is actually in our new truck. And I wanted to put the computer system in the new truck, but that was what the build was. That was all we could get at the time. We were fortunate enough to get this new truck, and this is what the build was already in progress.
But are we looking at the new computerized systems as an option?
Actually, I have a meeting next week sometime. They're gonna give me a call and see what schedule fits in to go over some of this.
And if we were to computerize the fleet or whatever, the trucks we're using for this, what would be the reduction in salt order magnitude? 1%, 5%, 20%?
Well, I think, sorry.
It's hard to say. I mean, similar to Hugh, I've taken the snow fighter class, and the main thing is that the computerized systems allow you to calibrate the systems. You don't get that dump at intersections, as Hugh was referring. I haven't heard of them as termite pile.
Yeah.
But it is a visual reference that makes sense. But it will reduce, but it depends on how accurate we are now, and we don't know how accurate we are.
Well, we know in aggregate how much we buy,
Right, but that doesn't tell us what the savings is, because right now, because we're doing manual, to project is gonna be difficult. I would assume we'd at least see 10%, and I would think greater than that, but I don't wanna, it's a guessing game for us to say.
Right.
This will allow us to be more efficient, identify exactly how you can change settings and everything here on the fly. We can look at the routes, how to maximize, minimize the rest. It's really using technology. A lot of departments are moving toward this.
Right. And the other consideration and concern is obviously the environmental impact of what we're doing. So this would allow us to better judge what's effective, can we cut back at all? And then it's going to capture that information in terms of how much we're actually applying, and then we can
Right.
look at, is that still effective? So, that's been expressed to me by several people in terms of the environmental impact. So
Right, and it's
anything we can
fantastic.
do to make ourselves more accurate and use as little but still be effective would be wonderful, I think.
I mean, we can take records of what we're buying for salt, I keep records of, our hours and our storms and events. But I can't honestly tell you how much each truck's applying and whether they're applying it. It's just.
And is that going to be built into this year's budget, acquiring these systems?
Well, yes, we're looking we're looking at the costs and the rest to put in to bring it forward and say, is it something we wish to invest in going forward?
I think.
And then some of the investments will be, like you pointed out, we also have coming up that we're requesting some truck purchases. So obviously we want to, you mentioned it's about half the price if you order the system built into the truck. So with our next trucks, we would order whatever system we're looking at and have it installed in the trucks. And then what we need to do is come up with the price to retrofit those vehicles we think we're gonna keep for a while. If we have a couple vehicles that are like in the 1 or 2 year span where we're gonna cycle them out, then we don't wanna put one on those yet. But I think our goal is to build toward data-driven information for us.
Also, our sidewalk, we know what we have, we've seen our tractor go up and down. We can calibrate it, we can set it, but as soon as you alter RPM change, all calibration is gone. It just fishtails along the sidewalk. There it is now. We're looking at maybe a new unit with another drop spreader system that we can, it wouldn't have the computer like a Dickie John or an X-Force or Snow Force system in it. But, I don't think we need it in there. It'll be an electric driven. It won't be dependent on PTO power, so it'll be easier to maintain. That unit, to go out and run the snow blower and that at the same time, you really can't do it because they both call for different RPM ranges. So we're looking at ways to improve our sidewalk, and I think that the money that we will recruit in sidewalk salt usage, is going to be beneficial too. So.
Good.
I honestly think the state mandates these computers to do storm totals in their state hired vehicles. I think it's coming municipality down the line eventually anyway. I think we ought to get ahead of it through the purchase of some of these units in our new truck, and also be very focused on education, So I think that.
And our salt budget is nearly $100,000. So if we were able to reduce our usage by even 10%, the cost of the system, we don't have the cost yet, but we'll do that cost analysis and say, all right, if we can reduce by 10%, this should be able to pay for itself in X years. And we'll bring that back to you guys. Like you said, he's meeting next week with them. We'll start knocking down some of these numbers and.
It's also a giant environmental benefit, as Roxanne was saying. I mean, 10% less salt is a massive.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Massive difference.
I mean, tons.
The goal is to actually go out and mechanically remove material from the road. You don't want to melt it from the road, you know what I mean? The melting is just, help, you don't want to have a bind between the snow or the ice in the road. You want to be able to mechanically remove it. So we try not to end up with the roads looking white, but some storms, it just, that's, it's in every community, unfortunately. It's just the way the weather pattern's been this year. Hopefully, we don't see it moving forward, but we have the feeling it does, we will. And again, hopefully we coast through the rest of this season without many events or major events, then we can keep what's in our barn to springboard us ahead next year. Maybe we can utilize some of that funds to try to implement some of this stuff. That would be very nice. So it is something that we have been looking at, and the fact that people are talking about it makes me realize that they're concerned, and we should have the support to move forward. That's the main thing, is people are recognizing it. And, so hopefully when it comes time to implement some of this stuff, we will continue to see the support. That's my hope.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Hugh.
Yeah.
And thank all of you for doing such a wonderful job this winter. We've had these horrific ice storms, and
Yeah.
thanks so much for being there and taking care of it.
Yeah,
It's
just want
been
to
well
bring up
handled.
something. I talked to you the other day about it, as the public know. I was down at dump last Saturday, and the place, it's really looking great. So one of the patrons at the dump asked me, about having an open house down there. Let the taxpayers see, what the building is, the equipment, stuff. So I think we should, at some point, pick a date, May or June, a couple hours on a Saturday morning, have an open house, have some coffee and donuts, have people meet you, see the building, see the grounds, and, see what the tax dollars is going to. And I think it's a very good thing to do, so.
Yeah, I think that's been a great fit in the compactor. We're making improvements to our new employees, very helpful.
Oh, he's been great. We have not one complaint.
We'll always be moving. And it's nice that the pendulum's almost swinging from constant maintenance to improvement. We're actually getting to where we can actually take some time to start making some improvements, so that's refreshing,
Yeah.
So, no, I think that things are moving forward,
Yeah, so I think maybe like you, Mike, and you can get together and
Right.
come up with a date and a time that's good for you and
Yeah, I think it's a great
have an
idea.
open house and let the taxpayers see
Right.
what
And
we're
hope-
doing.
And during
Good
good,
doing.
nice, during nice weather,
Yeah,
though.
May-
It has to be nice weather.
May or June, I think, and, maybe you have the Talbot Center up there, but I doubt it, but you have another one for the Talbot Center down in the
Well, I mean, that's
fall. but-
another thing that we can do when people are there is explain exactly, for those who don't understand, what we are planning to do about the Talbot Center. So, they'll be on site and we can say, yep, that building right over there, we're talking about taking that down and bringing in a prefabricated shed.
Do we think
So-
they'll be down by May or June though? I mean, I would think.
Well, we
right?
don't think so, but we can always explain
We
it.
think
I don't
it'll
know.
We think it will.
You think it will? Oh,
It'll
good.
be down, and whether or not we'll have the replacement, I plan on discussing with you. We need to go look at some options and then bring it back to you guys to look at the options of what to put on that slab. So that segues nice into project updates.
Speaking of the transfer station.
I'll just thank you and thank your crew and
Yeah.
on our behalf and all that.
Yeah.
Kind of working together and moving forward and, unfortunately, things do take time,
Oh, the municipality takes a lot of time.
It's the world we live in and it's almost with the COVID impacts that it just takes a little more time, So we do appreciate comments and concerns from the public because it helps us improve. I'd rather hear them up front than,
By the way, the beach is going to be fantastic. I don't know if you've seen all the digging they've done over there. It's really,
what's that?
I mean, the new road at the beach is
Yeah,
going to be
yeah.
really cool.
Oh, the beach.
Very excited to get back up there and get back working.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
sir.
much.
thank you.
All
Let's
right.
see if there's anyone who has any questions for them.
Yeah. Does anyone in the public have any questions? Michael, do you see any hands up
Three
or
people there.
any comments?
Nope.
Okay. Hearing none.
Thanks, you.
Take care. Thank you, Hugh.
I pause a moment just because sometimes it takes a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So next on our agenda is project updates from Mr. Canales.
So I'll start right off with the shed that we're proposing to take down and put up a new building on the existing slab in order to reopen the Talbot Center on grade. And we think if anybody's picturing it, it's as you pull in to the left, there's an older shed that was a storage shed. It sits on a good-sized pad, which we could then bring set the building on the pad. We would just have to run power, parking, bathrooms, and the rest are up at the blacktop area. So this would allow the use of that building. We would probably put in enough of a pad to put the handicaps parking spots right up to the building. And then go from there. So the demolition permit has been filed. So we're waiting for confirmation that it is not a historical structure. Once that's determined and we can take it down, we will take it down. And in the meantime, I hope to have by the beginning of next month, begin looking at some options of what type of building we can put in. I do need to work with Ned on this and make sure because we need it to be a shed.
Yep.
And that, as far as it applies, swap sheds are allowed, but they also can't be a full building,
Right.
So there are certain things that we need to make sure.
That wasn't on Historic Preservation's agenda earlier this week. I saw they had a meeting, but it wasn't.
No, so they'll be meeting
Okay.
hopefully on that, so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but the application was filled out. Just on the Larry Wog, and these are sort of just for your information, the MassWorks, the $1 million grant we had received, I submitted the final closeout documents for our reimbursement on that project, so that's been submitted. I submitted $404,000 to the small bridge grant for the Larry Wog Bridge. It's a $500,000 grant, but I have $404,000 in bills that can go toward it right now. And then the remaining punch list items and the final payout rest application will be submitted in the spring once the work is fully done. And we'll be able to close out that project also. Everett Road work is progressing. Obviously, we're in the winter and things are going, but things are moving along up there. I am not aware that we're off on any of our scheduling or anything else, so everything's moving as planned with a completion in the spring. We don't have an exact date, but as we get a little closer, I hope to fill you in on exactly when we think we'll have substantial completion. I always say that because there's always the punch list items and things that'll follow up in the months afterwards, similar to even the garage, even though we finished up the garage in the fall. The next year you still have punch list items, you have warranty items and things like that.
How's the roof doing there? Is that all resolved?
We're working on that.
All right.
So, yeah, we have a leak in one spot, which we need to address with the contractor. So we'll be following up on those and making sure, because once you hit that 1 year, then it just goes to manufacturer's warranties
Okay.
instead of the work warranties. So, yeah, we identify all those. So I will be releasing over the next 2 weeks, I'll be releasing the treatment for the hemlock trees bid. That was on advice of Ken, that based on holding the prices so that it can be done when they can actually treat, when the temperatures will be high enough and everything else, that we would put out the bid at the end of this month.
And you're gonna coordinate between Ken overseeing them, the scheduling, to make sure that.
Yeah, that'll be taken care of once the bid process is complete. We get the bids in, we evaluate them, we award a bid, and then we have, it's identified in there that there will be oversight. So,
Right.
yeah.
Good.
Park and Rec, I'll be putting out the bids for the resurfacing of the courts, the money that we had approved at last year's town meeting to be done in the spring. These are the tennis, basketball, and skateboard parks. These
Right.
are crack sealing and then micro covers and new fencing. So
Do you know when we're gonna hear on that USDA grant?
which one,
That was the Ice Climb grant that we did with the,
I don't know.
okay.
Don't know. A lot of, they're just wait and sees.
Right.
If there's any comments back or anything else, so.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out.
In terms of the tennis courts, have we talked with Parks and Rec, or have you talked with Parks and Rec in terms of the possibility of maybe just resurfacing the ones by Town Hall and possibly looking into utilizing the other space for parking?
We're gonna use,
So.
wait,
So
what's this?
that gets.
We don't own that.
I haven't.
Okay.
The money was approved to do the part, even if we, between Austin Riggs discussing it, putting in parking and everything, we're a number of years away.
Okay.
And right now, I know the basketball court and tennis courts are looking pretty shabby.
Right.
So I do think that even if that's parking will be a
Bid
long.
going out would be for both locations.
It would be for both locations, both tennis, both basketball courts and the skateboard park down below. Like I said, new fencing, resurfacing the courts. It does include painting on the tennis courts to paint in pickleball lines, so that the court can be multifunctional.
Okay.
And bring in different.
Riggs owns that property, obviously, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and there's an agreement with the town that we maintain the property and the property gets used for the public good, which is the tennis courts and the basketball courts for recreational use.
Right.
So if we were ever to try to propose something else or even think about it, and it was brought up in that very conceptual idea at the planning board with our planner about different locations we could look at. But as I stressed there, those are just where are our locations, but how feasible and whether we could actually move forward to them, that's gonna take the plan to the next step.
I mean, has anybody talked to Eric or anyone over there or not?
Not yet, we're in that.
It's a little bit weird for us to be.
Well, I'm asking
Well,
because I'm
okay.
wondering if
All right,
this
that's fine.
would work or not.
All we did with our planner was she identified locations that had potential. And now the next step is actually engaging those and seeing if they are
Feasible or not.
at all reasonable,
Right.
even possible.
Right.
Because it could be those then discussions, but yeah, it's a little, it's just ideas of.
All right, chicken or egg, I get it. You gotta
Yeah,
figure out how to
Could
go
it be
for it.
there,
Okay.
could it be wherever, it's just, And that's why I said, it was just a overview of, here are some larger areas of land within a distance to Main Street. So they were just identified as potential on a drawing. And
Right.
we take them, there's no intent or nothing at this point. It was
Right.
just strictly an exercise in identifying at first. And now we'll move to the next step.
And just out of curiosity, like, just behind here, like, I mean, it seems like it's low, 10, 20 days a year where, it's weekends in the summer, basically, really where the parking crunch is. I mean, is that our assumption? That, it's like summer weekends where the parking gets,
Yeah.
really too difficult.
Town hall is a focus, and actually, if you,
Other
in the planning board
places.
one of the things that was identified was expansion of
Over here.
This flat out
just
area out here.
away, that way.
That's right.
Create another 20, 30 spots and maybe shift the basketball court down. And
Yeah.
then leave the baseball field, so everything.
Does
would still
anybody
be there,
use the
but
baseball
possibility.
field?
Not really.
So last year, the request was to use the baseball field as there was a request by Little League and Great Barrington Minor League, to
Okay.
use the field. But it's, my understanding, it's pretty much a spillover field.
Yeah. it's just
So it's sort
you don't
of,
have
if they get backed up in games and they really need a place to practice, they might show up here. But it's not used on a regular basis as part
It's
of it.
basically a dog park. That's what I've seen. It's like people go, let their dog run around over there.
So at some point, what I'll do is have Kara come to the select board
Yeah.
and present to you the parking one, because I think the parking one is one that, even though she's under planning, that one is a little broader than just.
It'd be nice
like-
to even have some bus parking back there.
Yeah, we're
Because then you
looking
can
at those of where
Park the
we
bus, they
put
can
buses.
get people
where we
off
put-
there, they can
Yeah.
walk from there, get them
Yeah.
off.
Where is
Main
this?
Street, Out here.
No, a bus from where to where though?
Well,
No,
we get
have
the buses
the
that
bus
go up.
parking,
Tour
the
bus.
Oh,
bus park there, can unload, load there, saves a lot of hassle.
Yeah.
oh, I see.
Main
You're
Street.
talking about like the bus that goes from Lee to here to Great.
The tour
The
buses.
tour buses that come in.
Oh, tour bus.
If we could encourage a spot
Yeah,
and stuff. so-
that's something that we really gotta look
But I mean,
into.
the bottom line is we know we have inadequate parking.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
problem. And so now it's just a matter, it's at this high level where it's like identify all the potentials.
Right.
Right.
And then find out, are they feasible and what, and then ultimately make some kind of a decision about how to improve, our parking, expand our parking.
Then the ballpark, we also talked about, the gazebo there and, having events, and little music things and kids things and,
Oh, we're having such a big expansion, the number of kids in town. Maybe we'll get another Little League team.
yeah.
We got
Right.
Half of one.
7. Yeah, we only need
Nice.
9 per team.
So they're all the same age.
We have more than 9 kids though, so.
And yeah, what you just said about, I think Roxanne, you said it about all the potential.
Yeah.
Right, when I sat down with her, I said, don't limit yourself, don't look at anything, go, oh, should I touch?
Yeah, put it out there.
You're a
Throw it out
planner, you
there.
brought in from the outside, lay out all options.
Yeah.
Then this board, planning board and others will tell you, this one's not realistic, this one's not, or we'll talk to stakeholders and say, these come off the board. And then in the end, we end up with identifying maybe 1 or 2 places and
Hopefully.
say, this is how we could expand
Oh,
parking for Main Street
right.
and that. And then we bring in the stakeholders, the businesses, the Chamber of Commerce, everybody and say, here's what we've been able to narrow it down to. Here's what we're looking at. What are your thoughts? So
Okay.
we're taking a systematic approach to that. And, that's the update on the projects that are currently happening, the ones that are about to go out to bid. And then we touched on some of them that we're finishing right now.
Well, thank you. I don't see anybody here from Water and Sewer. Do we have anyone?
So I do have just the information
Okay,
pass on to you guys. So I attended the last water and sewer, and DEP has put a number of requirements onto our water and sewer department.
Of course.
And one of the first ones that they put on is they are expecting a water operator and sewer operator succession plans
right.
to be submitted to DEP by October 31st. We do have people that are facing within the next anywhere from 3 to 7 years, we're gonna see a loss in our departments over there. So one of the things is that we have dual licensed people and there is a shortage all over the place of just even single operators, let alone dual. And that might be, we have to look at different options as we move forward. But they're saying to not just us, they're saying to a lot of plants, because what's happening is these fields have been filled by the same people for so long that once again, there hasn't been a flow of new people into the fields. Therefore, there's a shortage. The testing, educational requirements and everything have ramped up and have made it very much a scarcity in these positions. So they presented it to the Water and Sewer Commission. They're gonna be submitting as part of their budgeting and the rest to have the funds available so that we can develop a succession plan and then think about what the best route is for the town going forward. That'll include all options from bring on, whether it's trying to bring on people for training to take over, to what would it be for bringing on whatever. So we gotta look at, once again, open all and that, but it is a reality that DEP and the town itself has identified, this is gonna be a difficult one going forward. This is, I know other towns right now are dealing with just trying to hold it together while they've had operators leave, and bringing new people in, getting people in such a competitive market is really a difficult. Obviously I talk about retainage, that if you have good people, you retain them, but we have people that are heading toward retirement. This isn't about retaining, they're going to be stepping down. So we need to have a plan. So the Water and Sewer Commission is on top of this, so is the department down there. And what I will do is so we just received this, they're just beginning to work on it. As we develop with something more comprehensive we can bring to the select board, we'll bring it forward to the select board. It'll be brought forward to the Water and Sewer Commissioners, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, that's where that's at. But it is very much a challenge.
Well, I suspect, I've had this conversation with Mike Buffoni before, and in terms of, we really have to be planning for you guys, because we know we can't keep you forever. And I have a feeling that we're gonna be forced to be possibly, I hope, in some kind of a mix where we have a combination of either people that we bring in ASAP to start training. If we can find people that are interested with the capability of doing that kind of work, because there's a lot of training involved and it takes a long time to get these licenses. And then combined with maybe we're gonna have to hire in some people with some experience. So I think it's gonna be an interesting exercise trying to come up with a good plan.
Is there an opportunity for regionalization with this? Like where we have, we obviously have plants in multiple small towns.
That will also be looked at, because a lot of places, if they have a water sewer treatment plant, right, that's very much a challenge for them.
Everyone's going through the same thing, and if we've got,
But I know there's people out there who are capable of doing the job without the license,
right,
more than qualified.
get them licensed.
So if you had a regional person over 2 or 3 with people in there that can actually do the job, but don't have the time
There's a
or the,
requirement for them to be there.
yeah.
There's very stringent
No,
requirements.
I know, but
So that's an option, yeah.
you've got like a number of slots, and if you have a pool of people that are centralized, then, you can deploy them where you need them. So if someone's on vacation from one, you maybe are borrowing somebody from another, and
And if you have certain people with certain license, they oversee, while you can have people that are directly at the
Actually
plant
doing
that
the
can
work.
have
Yeah, the
less.
hands-on people.
This all is going to be examined, but we are in the first steps of examining this. Like I said, we're 7 years out from when it'll absolutely hit.
that
where
comes
we
quick.
Pretty much,
Be here
yeah,
before you know it.
you would think, 7 years is a long time. No, we need the plan now, and we need to be moving forward with it.
Yeah, and it takes years to get your licensure, and
So-
you have to have a certain amount of experience. So we're talking
Right,
4
you
or
have to get
5 years
licenses.
before
Yeah,
people can get there. Yeah.
So, and like I said, this will be between now and October 31st for the plan. So obviously, just working on this is gonna happen in the next, 3 to 4 months.
Right.
Because we need to get the plan started, and we need to get it finalized, and then we need to move on, so.
can we just, I think this is a good example of the need to prioritize and for, you know, the taxpayers to recognize that there's only so much bandwidth to deal with the issues around some of these challenges. And so for water and sewer, for example, I mean, it's no secret, we got like, what, 10 letters this week from folks talking about water and sewer up at Averick and Train Hill Road. And I am not insensitive to the needs. It'd be great to get in my neighborhood too. But, you know, we've got a lot of aging infrastructure in this town, clay pipes that go back well over a century. These are real issues around staffing, and they're going to take a tremendous amount of work to evaluate and come up with a plan. You know, 3 years sounds like a long time until you get to, 2.5 years into it. And, this work has to happen now. And there's no easy answer to any of these issues, but it's my opinion anyway, that this has to be the priority before we talk about expansion of the system.
Well, the sewer commission
Right.
department is working on it. We know we have major expenses on Elm Street for water, sewer, and drainage, which is a top priority. And they are looking at expansion, but they're the ones that laying it out.
And I'm not suggesting we usurp their power at all.
No,
I
and-
completely agree with you. That is
And
their value.
those emails probably should be going to them,
Yeah.
so they can put it on their radar. But they are looking at that, but like everything that you said earlier, you got to maintain and bring up what you got
Right.
and then expand. But
Yeah, and
they're doing it. I mean,
and it is
it's on
more,
their table.
it is
It's on
more
their plate.
appropriate for people to contact Water and Sewer
Yeah.
Commission because it's under their authority. It's not really under the Select Board's authority to make these kinds of decisions. And I think that we all recognize that, yes, we would love to expand sewers, but ultimately we do have to take care of what we have now so it doesn't fail. But that's really under their authority, not ours. So,
And they're doing it. I mean, they're
And it
not
is-
sitting there. They're
Right.
looking to.
and everybody should remember too, that also there's going to be more federal infrastructure funds coming down the pike. So don't get crazy about the 400 and some odd $1,000. That's a drop in the bucket, but there will be more federal funding that will be coming in the future.
I mean, I
So,
would love to see everything around the lake sewer.
Yeah, me too.
That's a major expense and it's got to be designed. You can't just, okay, we're going to add here and add there, because if you don't design it
Plan.
for the whole plan, then you might be redoing things down the road that you just did because it's not adequate to hold sewer up the road. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
once
it's,
we get into that, it has to be done efficiently. So the
It's not
efficient
cheap.
way is to look at the entire picture and then determine again, you've got to
How do you
determine your
expand?
feasibility and do we have the money, et cetera, et cetera. So, but I think that's going to come down the pike and may not be right away, but certainly it's been looked at.
But I think we also need to recognize when it comes to these funds that we're getting less than other communities because of the mix of our community. And that's just the reality that we're going to face. We're going to have to go to loan a little bit more than maybe some other communities end up, because, Lee's got 8% and we've got maybe half, and,
Well, we're not alone in that.
I know,
Massachusetts, we're not alone. We're not
but
the only
maybe,
one.
down the road, being the lake, we might get more being it's a environmental thing.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions or comments from the public? Any hands up?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second
I'll
your
beat you to
motion.
Record, 34
All
minutes.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Clarence.
Hi, Clarence. Hi, Ann. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Karen. Hi, Shelby. Hi, Don.